This is Leveraging the Link with Ben DeCastro, your 10-minute podcast designed to maximize your impact on LinkedIn, growing your network and net worth. Whether you are B2B, B2C, or anywhere else in the grand scheme of business, it's time to go to the next level. It's time to start leveraging the link.
Episode number 2 is here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have you gone back and cleaned up your profile yet? Be honest, how many of you had to reset your password? That's okay. There's no shame in that, so long as going forward, we're going to keep on top of it and make your LinkedIn profile and everything else you do with the connections that you make here, make it as best as possible so you can really succeed and use this platform to your absolute advantage. If you haven't gone back and checked out your profile yet, that's obviously the first thing you need to do. Go through the basics. You can go back and listen to episode 1, where I talk a little bit about the history of LinkedIn, then also talk about the importance of having the basics correct. And I mean, think of it this way. Imagine if you had a business card, which a lot of us have, and there's the wrong spelling for the email address, or your name is incorrect, or you have the wrong title. That is kind of embarrassing if you don't pick it up and you start passing those things out and people are getting the wrong information. Well, it's the same thing is true with your LinkedIn profile, especially now, as I said, a lot of people are going there. I was just speaking with a person the other day who I had spoken with 3 years ago, talking to them about the same exact thing, saying, hey, listen, get on LinkedIn. He was thinking of making some changes, thinking of wanting to explore some options. Now, a couple of years later, the work that he's put in over these years are really paying off. So kudos to him. And if you did listen to episode 1, I explained why it's important also to follow the format suggested for the roles on the platform. Meaning if you put in your job description and you're putting in the company you work at and what you do, it's going to give you some suggestions. Now, a lot of people have come up with this unique name, like this, I don't want to call it cutesy, but it's more of a unicorn type name. I'm the special name for this. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. I think that's awesome if it's reflective of your position in your company. But for the sake of LinkedIn, just keep in mind that a unique title that you come up with, it may not translate as well across the board. You don't have the opportunity to explain it to somebody like you do if you said it in person. For the sake of making solid connections, try to get the title it suggests as close to what you do. Try to use that, and then in the description of the job or your experience, then you can kind of explain that. That would be a great place for that. Listen, I get it. Everybody wants to be a unicorn, but just for the sake of organic growth and opportunities, use the more standardized titles that are listed. Last thing I want to bring up before we dive into today's topic is about 6 days ago, as of this recording, I launched a video with cards. Now, this is similar to my first viral video I had a couple years ago where I was holding up a bunch of cards about living in the state of Rhode Island. That video went about 1.8 million views so far. 6 days ago, I launched another video with cards explaining an experience that my wife and I had at a restaurant. And the video is maybe 2.5 minutes long. Well, on LinkedIn alone, I've had over 50,000 views, 1,100 likes, over 115 comments, a bunch of shares. I've had people connecting with me from all different walks of life that want to follow my content here and have been reaching out in very encouraging messages. If you haven't seen it, go over to my LinkedIn profile. You can watch the video there. But when I talk about the organic being so alive, on Facebook, that video has done half of that. Okay? So just keep that in mind. And I positioned the video more in a business sense, and I tried to relate it to people who are going out dining on a regular basis, maybe having business meetings. It just opened up those paths of communications with people. Check it out, watch it, and just realize that as of, again, 6 days ago, as of the day of this recording, over 50,000 views. That is very good for LinkedIn. That's excellent, actually. So keep that in mind. The organic is so alive on LinkedIn, and that's the whole reason behind this whole podcast, is to help you develop and just strengthen your network and your net worth. And that brings us to today's topic as you start to make connections. People in your network are called connections. That's what, on Facebook you have followers or you have friends, you have likes. Here on LinkedIn, you have connections. And your network is made up of your first degree, second degree, and third degree connections. So what are those breakdowns? What is a first and second and third degree? All right, so here's how it breaks down. First degree are people you're directly connected to already because you've accepted their invitation to connect, or they've accepted your invitation. So those are the people you're already connected to. A second degree are those who are connected to a first degree connection. I know we're kind of playing like the 7 steps to Kevin Bacon over here, or if you're a Rhode Islander, it's, 2 steps to knowing somebody. But your second degree are people who are connected to your first degree connections. Third degree, take a wild guess, those are people who are connected to your second degree. So again, to review, your first degree are people who you're directly connected to. Second degree are the people who are connected to your first degree connections. And third are the people who are connected to second degree connections. So how do we start building those connections on LinkedIn for you? Well, as I've said before, LinkedIn is more formal than Facebook, but some of the Facebook rules actually still apply here, and really as they do with any social setting. I don't walk up to you at a party and just out of nowhere, without a greeting, without any kind of hello or salutation, I don't just go up to you and say, "Hi, would you like to purchase insurance?" Or, "Can I talk to you about painting your home?" No, you start to build the relationship. It gets awkward. And when you do that on LinkedIn, that just creates a very awkward situation for you, or one where you're just going to be blocked, or you're going to reject that, and you're not going to turn around and come back instead of trying to build up that relationship. There's a right way and a wrong way to strengthen your network. Turning those seconds and thirds into a first connection. And to go to the page where you have all the people that are potential connections and start rapid firing with your mouse or your finger is really the wrong approach. The art, the practice of relationship building, that is so key. And the more you work towards it, the stronger your network is going to become. Now, there are great resources out there. There are books, there are TED Talks, there are podcasts that will help you develop those skills. If you know of one, if one has worked for you, by all means, please share it. I'd love to talk about it in an upcoming episode, but it's one of those things where you just got to realize that if you're just going to come on to LinkedIn and just bombard people, even if you're paying to do so, because you will have to do that at some point, if you get blocked by enough people, your message just isn't going to go out. LinkedIn is going to penalize you for that. At some point, you've got to just dial it back a bit and build the relationship, build the connection from the ground up. I tell this to people all the time. Social media is not television. It's not the radio. It's not meant to be interruptive with your ads. It shouldn't be. There are people who do it. There are situations that present it. But if you can build that relationship, if you can build those connections, it's going to work out for you better in the long run. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know here. This is just the common sense of it. It's just reassuring to you that these rules do apply. So to start growing your connections, your network, if you're relatively new to LinkedIn, just start by going to your company page. Whatever company you work for, there should be a LinkedIn page. And make sure on that page there, everybody else who works at your company, make sure you've made all those connections there. Of course, if there is the situation where you don't have a company page, give your boss my contact info and I'll gladly have a chat with them. But there should be a company page that's maintained and managed by somebody in the company, because that's a valuable tool right there when it comes to getting the word out, hiring, just having that representation on the platform. It's very, very important, especially if you work for a national company. I mean, I can't even tell you how important that is. But if you do work for a national company, you may be in a spot where you've never talked with others who are in different parts of the country or even the world. These may be people who have the same role as you, just in a different location, or you can connect with people who are in the same role as your manager. So it's another manager in another part of the country or world there. This just is going to open up so many opportunities to learn policies, protocols, things that work, things that don't work, things that they may have tried and you're getting ready to do it. Now you can bounce that off. Internal connection there that unless you have a really good corporate infrastructure, again, that can be tough with some of these massive companies, that can be limited. This could be that door that opens right there. So alone, just connecting with people within your own company, for some of you, this may be all the reason you need in the world to get more active on LinkedIn. You can also start building and developing connections with your neighbors, literally the people on your street. That's what I mean by neighbors. Local business owners, places that are in your town or in your community, restaurants, places you frequent, maybe the cleaners, the doctor's office, the grocery store, whatever. Wherever you're doing business and you're at on a regular basis, try to find those people, make those connections. That can go a long way. And those quote-unquote life connections, those become the real wild card and really can potentially yield a greater opportunity in the long run, especially if you're a B2C person. So just through the art and practice of being active on the platform, the doors will begin to open for you. Even if you're just going with this basic rule of connections of people within your company or just that next ring out and then people in your local neighborhood, that can really start to help you. Making these connections takes time. Pace yourself. Working with this platform is absolutely a marathon. It's not a sprint at all. Next episode, we are going to talk about the time factor and building those good habits. I know it's the third week of January. A lot of people have already probably blown out their New Year's resolution, but that doesn't mean it's too late to start a new resolution and develop a good habit here, a healthy habit of spending the appropriate amount of time on the platform. So thanks again for listening. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the next episode as soon as it's ready. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Leveraging the Link. Ben DeCastro is an award-winning social media influencer. Follow Ben on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or at benjamindecastro.com. Be sure to click the subscribe button so you'll have the next podcast as soon as it's launched. Feel free to leave an honest rating of this podcast, and if so inclined, share it with colleagues, friends, even your boss. The theme song is City Lights by Collington. Find them on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you listen to music.